Welcome back and thank you for staying with us right here on Morning at NTV. We shall be linking back to Stephen Bid a little bit later on, but let's kickstart our first conversation of the day. The best performing districts were named on Tuesday as per the Advocates Coalition for Development and the Environment. Well, the National Performance Assessment Scorecard named the best and worst performing districts and chairperson of various local governments in the 2018 and 2019 financial year. The assessment was done by the Advocates Coalition on Development and Environment, Uganda, and they assessed 35 districts and the performance of 33 chairpersons, who included the female chairperson of Kanungu district. Well, I have the project manager of the Local Government Council Scorecard Initiative, that is Mr. Jonas Mbabazi Musinga. He's also a research fellow with the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment. Many thanks for joining us on Morning at NTV.
Thank you.
Good morning,
for
Elbow.
having me this morning.
So tell me, since 2009, when you started this exercise, what milestones have you achieved?
As
far as local governments are concerned?
As far as local governments are concerned, we have so far carried out 8 assessments. And these assessments started with 10 districts. And as of now, we are in 35 districts in the entire country. And these districts are distributed geographically across the entire country. And as a result of these assessments, we've been able to see improvements in the performance of local leaders. We see improvements in the performance of councils. We see improvements in the performance of speakers of council. We see improvements in the performance of individual councillors. And also, we've been able to bring the communities to speed to understand what they should expect from these leaders. We have seen some leaders being elected back into their leadership positions as a result of these assessments. But we have also been able to see leaders being voted out of office as a result of these assessments. In addition to that, as a result of our research, we've also been able to attract government through our proposals to be able to look into issues that affect local governments. For instance, on issues of local government financing, we've been able to do research on financing of these local governments and also make proposals on how best ministries, departments and agencies can be able to assist and improve the financing of local governments. And recently we saw the Ministry of Finance directing the different ministries, agencies and departments to devolve certain funds to local governments, specifically meant for the mandates of local governments. Throughout this project as well, we've been able to see a number of changes, because as a project we've been making proposals in terms of amendments within the law. And as we talk now, we also made proposals in the amendment of the Local Government Act. The Act is undergoing amendment right now. And the minister and the ministry that is in charge of local governments has been able to look into these proposals, and some of them are being considered into the current local government amendments bill.
Well, let's take a look at the best performers. Kabarole's Richard Rabuhinga was named the best performing district chairperson with 96%. He improved with points of 6%. The last assessment he had 90.
Yes.
This man did perform very well. He wasn't the only one, but what triggered this improvement? What triggered this development in these respective districts that performed well?
Well, we also need to understand what parameters we consider in this assessment.
That is the next question. Let's
Yes.
first focus on the best performers and the worst performers and why they performed that way. And then we'll talk about that issue.
Yes, as you look at the best performer, for instance, Honorable Richard Rabuhinga, the district chairperson of Kabarole, there are a number of things that he does differently from the rest of his colleagues.
Expand.
For instance, when you look at the issues of being the political head of a district, as a political head of a district, there are certain things that he has to do to make sure that the district runs as expected. And he provides commendable political leadership within his district. And you find that his district is united. He monitors the performance of the technical teams. He makes sure that he regularly attends council. He conducts monitoring, regularly monitoring of service delivery within the entire district prepares reports, and he's able to have an interface with the technical teams at the district level to make sure that some of the issues that have been identified are actually addressed. And that one makes him stand out from the rest of his colleagues at that level.
And Bududa was rated the worst performing district with only 25%. Why were they performing so badly? And other districts like Tororo?
Like I said, this performance is based on the things that...
We'll talk about the basis.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about the basis.
Yeah,
Let's first talk about why they performed badly.
And the reason that Bududa performed badly is because when you get into a district, the first thing that you're supposed to see is how the documentation of how the district conducts its business. But in an instance where you're not able to see a council that is able to sit 6 mandatory meetings, to have 6 mandatory meetings, if you're not able to see a council conducting monitoring of service delivery, if you're not able to see a council and a chairperson that is able to reach out and provide accountability to citizens, then the performance definitely ends up being that bad.
So now, the question you've been eager for. What was the basis of the ranking?
Our ranking is based on the statutory roles and responsibilities of the leaders that we assess, the councils that we assess, the speakers that we assess. And we look at, first of all, the legislative function of councils. How are councils able to talk about issues that affect their communities within their councils? How are these councils able to make bylaws? Are they able to make policy proposals? Are these councils able to give accountability, both downward and upward accountability to citizens? Are these councils and leaders reaching out to their voters? Are they providing services? If services are not as expected, are they conducting regular monitoring and bringing feedback to council, making discussions on that kind of feedback, and also addressing the challenges that they identify? Those are the sum of the indicators or parameters that we consider in the performance of these leaders. And these are provided for within the Local Government Act.
And I did look at the number of district chairpersons who performed well and those who performed badly, and I was astounded at the low number of women representation at the local government level. Why are there more men than women taking up positions at the local government level?
The gender lens at the local government level is kind of complicated.
Explain.
Our results show that it is more difficult to have women leaders at that level. Women find it difficult to be elected to the top positions at the level, and that is what the findings are telling us. And this has many other things that explain it. There are issues of attitudes towards women. There are issues of double responsibilities of women. There are issues of capability of women in terms of finances and resources, among others. And these constrain the active participation of women at that level. Yeah.
Mr. Majezi, the local government minister, did advise the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment to actually increase this assessment from 35 districts to cover the entire country. Do you have the capability to carry out such an assessment countrywide?
Well, in regard to that, I would love, first of all, to thank our funders, that is Democratic Governance Facility and Hewlett Foundation, for the support that have given us to be able to cover 35 districts. At the moment, the reason we are in only 35 districts is because we have limitations in terms of resources. Accord is a civil society organization. It is a think tank. It does not at the moment have the capacity to expand to 130 plus districts. And because of that resource constraint, at the moment we cannot be able to cover that. But with more willingness of government to cooperate with us and picking interest in what we are doing, probably it is possible that we can be able to expand this to cover the entire country. And we are open to discussions with the ministry to see to it that the coverage of the scorecard can be rolled out.
Are we talking about municipalities, sub-counties, and town councils? Will those also be covered? Because Majezi was adamant on that one, saying that not only districts, even the sub-counties, the town councils, the lower level. What do you think?
In our next deal of assessment, we are looking at including all the municipalities within the district where we are currently operating, and we are looking at a minimum of 20 municipalities altogether. So moving forward, we are likely to have an increment in terms of coverage to be able to also include the municipalities. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Local Government Council's Scorecard Initiative report that was launched on Tuesday. Now, what recommendations were made at that launch, and how are you planning to implement those recommendations?
For those that were able to watch the proceedings of the launch, the Director for Local Government Inspection, Minister of Local Government, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government, and the Minister of Local Government were very positive about the recommendations that we made. And they were open to discussions, and they actually gave us a task to be able to package these recommendations and have a discussion with them on how best they can be able to take these on. And the Minister committed that they will look into these recommendations and look at those that are palatable to them or acceptable to them and take them on. Among the recommendations that we made were issues of local government financing. Our findings demonstrate that there is very limited financing for local government functions. And because of this, we are also borrowing from the study that we did previously. We recommend that ministries, agencies, and departments that are holding money for functions that are devolved within the law to be in local governments should be able to release these funds to these local governments. And when that is done, we anticipate that there will be at least more funds at the disposal of these local governments. Secondly, we are recommending that the Ministry of Local Government should prioritize strengthening local government systems. One of the things that we found out is that the systems at the local government level are not functioning as expected. When you look at the local government, the councils themselves, when you look at the standing committees of these councils, when you look at local government public accounts committees, they are not functioning as expected. And we recommend that the ministry can prioritize capacity building and mentorship of these structures and lead at that level to make sure that they are able to perform.
So their problem has to do with staffing.
Staffing is also another issue that we also established.
But please proceed.
In this assessment, we realized that most of the districts do not have staffing that is between 46–57%. And that is a challenge. And most of the critical or strategic positions within those local governments are not filled. Majority of the people that we see in these local governments as staff are either support staff or administrative staff who do not play a key or strategic role in these institutions.
Well, also the local government minister, that is Mr. Raphael Majesi, did mention and blame government ministries and departments for not releasing funds to lower government councils to implement their projects. How big is this problem as far as service delivery is concerned?
Well, when you look at the structure of local governments, the district is supposed to send certain resources, collected revenue, local revenue, to the lower local governments. And the lower local governments, on the other hand, are supposed to remit some of the collections from their revenue. But we see, because of the poor relations between the higher local governments and the lower local governments, some of the resources are not being released in a timely manner. So we see compliance issues at that point in the governance of these local governments. So we think that by improving the relations between these entities, the higher local governments and the lower local governments, there is likely to be an improvement on how these local governments relate with each other, how they deliver services to each other, and how they actually monitor the delivery of services. Yeah.
But then that's the issue of government ministries not releasing funds to these entities to expedite government projects. But there's another issue, Mr. Jonas. Some districts are getting the funds, but at the end of the financial year, they are taking the funds back to the treasury. What is causing that? And
There are a number of issues. There are a number of issues. For those that will have an opportunity to look at a detailed report, one of the things that we talk about is the issue of release of funds, timely release of funds from the central government to the local governments. And we have seen an improvement over time on the efficiency with which the Ministry of Finance is releasing funds to the local governments. But in an event that the funds are released late to the local governments, for instance, towards the close of the quarter, then the local governments are not able to absorb and spend these resources. And at the end of the reporting period, the monies are supposed to be returned to the center. The unspent monies are supposed to be returned to the center. And that is one of the challenges. The second challenge is that there are also challenges relating to contract management at the local government level, where the resources are available and the local governments are not able to do procurements in a timely manner. So the resources that are not spent within that reporting period are then expected to be remitted back to the center. So those are some of the challenges. And there are also issues related to recruitment. Some local governments have a wage bill and they have the resources available, but they're not able to recruit staff in time. And as a result, at the end of the financial year, the money that they are supposed to have used to pay the recruited staff is sent back to the center. And those are some of the challenges that we think that government can be able to fix by helping these local governments improve.
Well, Majesty still contends that these local governments are given the money in a timely manner, some of them, but still they take the money back to the treasury. We would like to know what causes that in the first place. If you received money in a timely manner, but you were not able to use it and you took it back to the treasury.
When you look at the local governments, for instance, like the issue of recruitment, when you have the money for the wage bill, but you find that the local governments are not able to recruit. There are those local governments that are not able to attract staff that they want. For instance, many local governments have not been able to attract medical staff, and they do advertise. The district service commissions do advertise, and people do not respond. So when they have no staff responding to these adverts, then they're not able to recruit. And at the end of the reporting period, this money has to go back. There are also inefficiencies within these local governments. For instance, in issues of procurement, you're supposed to rehabilitate this road or maintain this road. Within this quarter, a local government is supposed to advertise, receive these bids, do bid analysis, and select the best service provider. But some local governments, because of administrative inefficiencies, they are not able to do this in a timely manner. And as a result, at the end of the reporting period, you find that money is still available and has not been absorbed, so it has to go back. Yeah.
How has corruption exacerbated the poor performance that we continue to see in some of these districts like Bududa and Tororo?
It is not specific to Bududa and Tororo, but in the entire local government fraternity. There are incidences of corruption. And these incidences of corruption relate mainly to procurements, where you find that there are issues of collusion, there are issues of inflation of bids, there are issues of nepotism, among others. And therefore, when these come into play, where you find some local government leaders peddling influence to make sure that so-and-so or this company gets a contract, then there are issues of quality that come in. This means that the local government leader at that level will not be able to supervise and ensure that the person who has been given a contract delivers to the expected standard. Yeah.
So how best can we help these governments that are these local governments that are performing poorly to improve, and even those that are already doing better to do even more better?
As a project, we have, as an organization, we have interventions that are targeting improvement of performance. And one of those things that we focus on is capacity building. And we do capacity building of councils, we do capacity building of leaders, we do capacity building of the structures of council to make sure that the things that are not going right are fixed. We also do targeted capacity building, where we identify challenges, we help these local governments to be able to address them from time to time. Yeah.
Okay, parting shots, Mr. Jonas, as we wrap up. Your parting shots.
When you look at the current scorecard assessment, the results show that there has been a great improvement in the performance of the district chairpersons, in the performance of councils, and also in the performance of speakers. And we also see a slight decline by 1% in the performance of individual councillors. And in this regard, we see a number of things that are changing also as a result of this scorecard assessment. And we would love to encourage the local government leaders to continuously focus on the issues of the electorate, the issues of service delivery, to ensure that they can be able to address the service delivery challenges that are within their jurisdictions.
You did mention the issue of gender inequality, but we did not talk about some of the solutions, possible solutions to arrest that situation and bridge the gender gap.
With regard to the gender gap, definitely there are a number of things that have to be done by various stakeholders. We need to support women to be able to participate, actively participate in politics at various levels.
Okay.
And it's nice that the Local Government Act now that is being amended is proposing an increment in the number of women in the councils at the local.
That is amazing. Jonas Mbabazi, that is Musinga. He's a research fellow and the project manager of the Local Government Council Scorecard Initiative right there. He was so kind to come here on the show to help us expound on some of the issues that were reached on Tuesday during that meeting. Many thanks for coming. Elbow? Okay, right about now, let me link to my